boys and girls, to this first Sunday school video of First Church Congregational of Methuen, Massachusetts, United Church of Christ. This here's your friend, Cowboy Joe, who's going to introduce today's lesson, going to be taught by Pastor Bill, the Right Reverend William D. Ingraham, who is going to tell you the story about Zacchaeus, a man who was not very tall, but wanted to be able to see Jesus. And so Pastor Bill's going to tell that story. Now hold on, because after the story, Pastor Bill's going to hand it back to good old Cowboy Joe, and I'm going to sing you my theme song. Cowboys have theme songs. Well, I guess not all cowboys. Cowboy Joe, he's got him a good theme song. I think you're going to like it. Maybe you'll even learn that song too, and you can sing along with me on a Sunday. Well, there you go. We're going to now hand it over to Pastor Bill, who's sitting outside ready to tell you about Zacchaeus. Thank you, Pastor Bill.
Thank you, Cowboy Joe. And hello, boys and girls. Cowboy Joe is just right inside the parsonage there. This is the house where I live. The parsonage that belongs to First Church Congregational of Methuen, Massachusetts, United Church of Christ. And I am Bill Ingraham, the senior pastor of the church. And I get to tell you today's Sunday school lesson, which is going to be about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. It was in the city of Jericho. Jericho is a city that comes up in other places in the Bible. You'll probably hear about the city of Jericho as you learn Bible stories. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. That's a song. That's also a story from the scripture. But Zacchaeus, he was a really short person, and he knew that Jesus was coming. He had heard about him, and he wanted to see him. So he decided the only way to see Jesus coming along the street would be to find a tree and climb up high and look down and watch Jesus as he passed. Let's see if we can find a tree to demonstrate the story. No, not this one. It's a hydrangea. It's a beautiful tree, but you couldn't climb this tree. Not even a short person can climb this tree. Let's try again. Well, I had hoped maybe this tree would work. It's a ginkgo tree in front of the church, one of several that we have out here, at least two. A ginkgo tree is really an amazing tree. It'll grow really, really tall. These things can be huge. But this isn't very old, and so it's really not very tall. I don't think somebody can even climb this without breaking off the branches. So this tree won't do. Let's keep looking to see what we can find. Yeah, I'm not sure this one's going to work either. This is a dogwood tree, and while I have seen some of you climb this tree, I don't know that it would get Zacchaeus high enough up to see the crowd, and besides, the canopy of a dogwood comes down so low, I'm not sure he could have seen Jesus through the leaves. Let's keep looking. I have one more tree, and I think it's going to work. Okay. I think this one will do. This is the large oak tree that stands between the parsonage where I live and Parish Hall, where we have like social dinners and fellowship. And so this is a really good tree. It's tall. It's not a sycamore fig tree. It is an oak tree, but we don't have any sycamore fig trees. I'm not even sure I know what a sycamore fig tree looks like. That's what it's named in the Bible. So let's talk about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. He lived in the town of Jericho. As I said earlier in the video, a very famous town in biblical times. And Jesus was coming to Jericho. And Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus. But he wasn't tall. He was a really short guy. And so he knew as the crowds came out to the street to see Jesus passing by, he wasn't going to have a chance to see him. He wasn't tall enough. And being a tax collector, he wasn't very popular. People often don't like tax collectors, even though our taxes go to pay for, nowadays, roads, light, street lights, police, firefighters, military, the government supports healthcare. I mean, lots of things. They do lots of good. Still, people like to keep as much of their money as they can, and there's no fault in that. I understand. So Zacchaeus, just because of his profession, was unpopular. Tax collectors in the ancient world often were dishonest too, We'll hear more about that in a second. So Zacchaeus, knowing the crowd was going to be out to see Jesus as he went by the street, went ahead of the crowd and found a tree, climbed up high in the tree, and watched for Jesus. And so, high up in the tree, Zacchaeus was watching. And when Jesus came by, with all the crowds between the tree and Jesus in the street, Jesus stopped right in front of the tree, turned, looked up in the top of the tree, and said, "Zacchaeus, come down from that tree. Today I will stay in your house." Whoa, talk about a surprise and a huge honor for Jesus to stay in Zacchaeus' house of all the houses in town. And so Zacchaeus was climbing down the tree, and as he was, people in the crowd started to grumble. Why is Jesus going to stay with him? He's a tax collector and a sinner. They were not at all happy with Jesus for deciding what he had. But Zacchaeus came down from the tree, walked over to where Jesus was, and said, "Half of all I have, I will give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anybody, I will pay them back 4 times over the amount that I owe them." Let's think about that for a minute. This is an amazing thing. So first of all, giving away half of what he had, 50% to go to the poor. So that might mean food, it might mean shelter, it might mean clothing, it might mean education, it might mean health care, it could mean all sorts of things. You know, in our church, we give significant amounts of food and money to support people who are hungry. We work to build houses with Habitat for Humanity. We do a number of projects to help out people who are in need. We offer them our support as generously as we can. Zacchaeus was saying half of everything he had, a remarkable amount. The other side, if I have defrauded anyone, he said, cheated, wronged them, taken too much tax, in other words, I will give them 4 times over what I owe them. Now, just by his saying that doesn't mean that he had defrauded people. I think this story implies, anyway, that if he had cheated anyone, it was accidentally, that he was honest. It wasn't his intention. But regardless, he says, if there's anybody I've wronged, anybody I have taken their money inappropriately, I will pay them back 4 times over what I owe them. An amazing offer. And Jesus said of Zacchaeus, "Today salvation has come to your house." It was really clear. Zacchaeus was getting it about what it means to be a follower of Jesus, to be generous, to be honest, to use your life in service to other people. At least that's how I interpret it. How do you interpret it? How would you respond, do you think, if you actually met Jesus in person? How much effort would you make to get to see Jesus if he was coming along? Would you climb a big tall tree, or stand on top of a wall, or scamper around to get in front of the people? How hard would you work to get to see Jesus if he was coming to town? And if you did see him, what difference would it make in how you live and what you do in the world? Well, boys and girls, that is Sunday School for today, for this week. And I hope you'll join me next Sunday when I will tell another Bible story, and it'll be introduced by another one of my friends, maybe Cowboy Joe. I'm not sure who's introducing next week. I haven't talked to everybody yet to see who's available. But now, to end Sunday School, I'm going to hand the lesson back over to Cowboy Joe, who is sitting in the dining room at the parsonage, ready to finish off this video. Thank you. Take it away, Cowboy Joe.
Thank you, Pastor Bill. That was right interesting and downright educational too. I feel like I learned something today about what it means to seek Jesus and try to understand what he's trying to tell me what to do. That was real helpful, and I thank you. Well, boys and girls, I promised you that if you hung around to the very end, you'd get my theme song, and so now I'm going to sing it. It's a pretty good theme song. Maybe you'll learn it too. He likes to sing raggedy music to his cattle while he swings back back and forward in a saddle on a horse, pretty good horse, a syncopated gator, and he shuffles to the meter of the roar of his repeater. How they run when the hero Joe's a coming, and the western folks all know. What do they know? He's a highfalutin, rootin' tootin' son of a gun from Arizona, ragtime cowboy. Talk about your cowboy, ragtime cowboy Joe. There you go, boys and girls. That's my theme song. And this has been the very first Sunday School by Video of First Church Congregational of Methuen, Massachusetts, United Church of Christ. I hope you've learned your lesson, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next Sunday that's coming your way. All right. Y'all be good.